Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks, Real Challenges, Experts Advice, the podcast dedicated to helping those transitioning into customer success and early career customer success managers. I'm your host, Byron Toruño, and today we will be talking about product management. Yes, we're going to leave aside a little bit of customer success. We're going to be focusing more on what it looks like to be a product manager. And it's not to lose you from customer success or transform you from a customer success manager to a product manager. We love you here. Stay with us. But it's also a way for us to understand what it's like to be a product manager, and it's also good for us to what we can learn from them as well, because product management is a department with who we're going to be working a lot with, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And for that, we have a real powerhouse today with us, 15 years of experience in customer facing roles. But before we jump into who am I talking about, I want to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Flola. Yeah, Flola. So I have a question for you. Dealing with complex onboarding? Meet Flola. Flola helps automate and simplify complex onboarding and implementation processes. Share resources and project plans in a personalized link, collect data and documents without the back and forth, and auto populate your CRM. Delia, coming back to you. Delia Visan, 15 years of experience in customer facing roles. Welcome to Customer Success, and thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm happy that we can finally record this podcast because we've been through a lot of postponing.
It,
But
it
yeah,
Indeed, life has been kicking in so many ways. And congratulations for your new MBA.
thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a journey and I'm happy it ended. Uh, but I'm also really grateful that it happened. So yeah, thank you.
One more for the belt. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Delia, can you tell everyone your who is Delia Visan, your background, and all of the amazing resources that you're providing to the community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Delia, well, she's a dreamer, first of all.
Love that.
Yeah, so the main thing that I've always dreamed about was to kind of be able to help people, support them on their journeys. I kind of always believe that I'm going to be a psychotherapist at some point, but apparently I'm not 100% of that. So I kind of realized that I can also help people on their business journey, right, and on their professional journey as well. So this is exactly what I'm currently doing, and I'm very grateful that I'm doing something that I love. So yeah, I'm in customer success since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. But before that, I've had a lot of customer facing roles. I started with customer support, customer service, then I went into account management, customer experience management, and customer relationship management. And well, customer success is actually the natural path. So I've grabbed that with both my hands, and I'm happy to be able to share from my experience and at the same time learn from every single customer success leader or person that's crossing my path, right? Because I think we can all learn from each other and have a positive impact on each other's personal and professional lives.
You're also not only a speaker, not only top 25 most creative CS leaders by Ever After and top 10 EMEA customer success leader, but you are also a coach. Am I right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So I'm coaching people on their journey towards customer success. And not just that, but also on having effective communication strategies with their customers, depending on the segmentation, depending on the categories, on the personality of the people they are talking to from the customer stakeholders. And besides, I'm also being a consultant. So I'm helping both businesses from the business perspective and from their, let's say, customer success teams or customer support teams perspective. So I'm kind of doing both of those things. Yeah.
And also a podcast guest.
Yes.
This is amazing, all what you have done, and I'm pretty sure what you're going to do as well. That's amazing. And again, thank you very much for being here with us today, Delia.
Thank you so much, Byron.
Let's jump now into product management. Let's
Yes.
leave aside a little bit of customer success and let's learn about other business units of a SaaS company. And I would love to hear from your perspective how you have been working as a product manager before and what is the life of a product manager on your perspective.
Uh, I think that the main thing that kind of gets between, but in a positive way, right? Gets between the customer success department and the product management department is the fact that both departments are creators. The product management team is a creator of the whole product of the ideal solution or service or product that the business is offering to the customers, and the customer success team is a creator of the whole communication methodologies, strategies, and the success strategies in order for the customers to be happy with the whole experience and collaboration and so on and so forth. From the product management perspective, I think one very important thing to mention is the fact that, at least in my perspective, people who work in product management are one of the most reasonable people because they really have to be very well organized, very well structured. They deal with timelines and deadlines and the whole package of features and functionalities that they have to release, depending on several criteria. And they receive feedback from all over the place, and they have to just stick to the product roadmap while still creating and improving the product and the solutions and bringing new functionalities and matching those with the customer needs and so on and so forth. So at least personally, I have a huge admiration for people who are working in product management because I really know from my experience how difficult it is, right, to be able to um, oscillate between all the tasks that you have as a product manager, but also being open to receiving feedback from customer success teams who always are very customer oriented and so on. I used to work closely with product management teams, of course, being in customer success. And if it's one thing that I really learned, and I think everybody should consider, is the fact that product management teams are really open to improving the product based on customer feedback, but they just need to have the context for that, right? So they need to have the context of why a specific release is needed, why a specific feature is needed, what is the way it will impact the business of the customer if it gets released or if it doesn't get released, right? So I think that once we understand that, the whole collaboration between product management and customer success will be way smoother, right, than it is at the moment, generally speaking, if you ask me.
And knowing that will help a lot of removing frictions between both departments because on one side is we have the pressure of having the customer and the customer doesn't care how we work internally. They just know
Exactly.
us and Byron as a customer success manager and the product as the product itself. But then on the other side, it's not only customer success, it's also probably marketing asking for some updates for when there's a release and deadlines. Then you have the C suite with their yearly goals. Then you also have internally within the product management team, the developers who also need to give updates and also meet with them to be aware of all the bugs and also maintaining the system, but on the other side feature requests, and then oh my
Mhm.
god. So it is indeed interesting that you're saying that they're reasonable people, but at the same time they have to learn how to organize their days.
Mm-hmm.
how
Exactly.
how can you organize your day based on all of this information that you're receiving from everywhere?
Well, I think it's a very good thing that we can all apply, no matter our role, is to kind of don't lose sight of our priorities, right? So once we have, for example, the product roadmap, that's our main priority. Now we have to make sure that we have a functional product, That's another priority, because okay, we want to do new releases and to have new features and functionalities, but if my product is not working properly, then I have a problem, and customers are not going to like that. So besides the product roadmap priority, we also have the bugs and the glitches and all those problems, technical issues, right, that can appear from time to time. So we need to prioritize that as well. um, Receiving feedback from all sorts of departments from everywhere, right? We need to centralize that. We need to have that very clear and categorized on must have and nice to have, right?
Uh-huh.
Once we have that segmented, we will be able to, insert specific requests into our priority lists, but only if everything is clear for us from that perspective, nice to have or must have. And when we talk about nice to have and must have, we talk about the business need, right? If a specific request gets fulfilled, then what's the positive impact on the business? But if it doesn't, what's the negative impact on the business, on the customer business, right? Do their internal processes get blocked? Do they lose money? Do they lose maybe time from the operational perspective, or right, efficiency perspective? So I think that considering all those aspects and everything, it always comes down to keeping the eye very clearly on the priorities, right? And of course, it's
I hear you how you breathe. Like,
yeah, because practically, I mean, we say that priorities, but at the same time, we need to be flexible, right? Because as I said, things can appear, inconveniences and situations and technical things that we need to take care of firsthand. So yeah, keep the eye on the priority list, but also be flexible in order to be able to, change the priority list if needed. So I think it's mostly being open and thinking out of the box while keeping the eye on the ball, right? At the same time.
absolutely. And I want to pause here just for a second, Delia, because I want to remind everyone about Flola and the benefits that it's going to bring. And I forgot that tell everyone that Flola gave us an amazing discount that you have to take advantage of this. Go to the description of today's episode and take the advantage. With Flola, you are able to close the gap between sales and onboarding by automating handovers. You can track the progress of implementations and see which projects overrun. And then you can also accelerate time to value using repeatable templates. So don't wait. If you're curious enough, just go and take a look. If we now go back to what we are talking about, Delia, I love everything that you say because we are basically having here someone internally giving us all the information for us to remove any bad thoughts that sometimes comes to our
Mhm.
mind when someone doesn't answer a slack or an email. It's like, why are they answer or why are they answering this way, right? And there's a lot of factors. It all depends on the person as well and the emotional intelligence, but communication skills is so important as well, I think, in product management. Do you agree?
Well, absolutely. Because, for example, if you go from the customer success perspective to the product management team and you put pressure because a customer has a specific request, but you don't give enough information, you don't give context, you do not approach the situation accurately and appropriately from the communication perspective, well, that's gonna be a bit difficult, right? So if you have all things clear and you communicate that clearly as well to the other department, I think things will be way smoother, and everybody will have their own idea of why is it important for that customer to have something implemented, or why is it important for the team to prioritize something differently. So I think that once you communicate clearly, transparently, and with all the information, as much information as possible, relevant, right, of course, I think that's going to be way easier than we imagine.
And this is where we will start now jumping into the first challenge between both teams, which is the alignment.
Mm-hmm.
because what you also said why several times, and I think something really important for the product team is to know the whys behind
Mm-hmm.
of something. If we can extract that from the customer,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we are going through the feature request form, and it's like so many questions and so many, but each question is there for a reason. So I think that alignment between teams is also so important. So I wanted to ask you, what alignment strategies would you recommend a customer success manager or a product manager, if they're here, for them to start aligning between teams? Because I know leadership plays a big role, but we as individual collaborators, we can also have the
Mm-hmm.
initiatives and the curiosity.
Yeah. So I would start with, I mean, from the product management perspective, you have to be clear on what information you need from the customer success team in order to understand what you have to do and why you have to do it. Then, once you provide those questions to the customer success team, they can review those questions. They can maybe adjust them or maybe add some new questions that are going to be relevant to address to the customer to find information, and the customer success team then will be able to create maybe a business case with all the data and the details and the behind the scenes of that specific request, and then they can go back to the product management team, who will have every single detail that they need in order to make an informed decision, right, based on specific information that they have, specific data, specific details. So I think that first of all is the idea is to kind of have a clear image on what you need from the product management perspective. Ask for that to the customer success department. They will have to go to the customer, ask the questions, get the answers, centralize the information, put it in a business case, maybe a template, anything that can help the product management team understand exactly what they have to do and why they have to do it, and when, of course, because that's also another question. Yeah.
It's just that if we don't take the time to invest on understanding the product team and
Hmm.
on the structures, it's also going to be so hard for us to understand how to influence them and caught their attention,
Yes.
because we can create allies internally within teams, right? So
Exactly.
if we invest the time on having at least a 30 minutes conversation, one,
Hmm.
understand their structure, and if you can record that and they go back to it if you have questions,
Hmm.
you're going to be that person that when you reach to them, not always, but that one time that you reach out because you have everything clear but you need something, I
Hmm.
think it's going to cut their attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, for example, once you are clear from the customer success perspective, speaking now, right? Once you are clear on how the product works, what are the strengths of the product, what are the point faible, the flaws. Sorry, it didn't come. The word didn't come. What are the flaws of the product? Because practically, from the customer success perspective, you have to be an ambassador of the product, right? So you need to spend some time with the product team in order to understand how the product works, what are the strengths, the flaws, what are the benefits, what are the risks, so that you have the chance to kind of support the customer on their journey yourself as a customer success manager before going to the development team or the product team, right, to ask for support. And in order for us from the customer success team to kind of be able to understand everything related to the product, we need to ask for help. We need to ask for insights, right, from the product management team. We need to spend time with those people. Well, and that I make a parenthesis here because it's really tricky because they don't really have that much time. But I think that once in a while, maybe a 30 minutes meeting weekly on a weekly basis, that can be enough for the customer success team to kind of get into the details of the product and the new releases and the bugs and the glitches and everything that's going on from the product management team, right, with the product. So yeah, I think that would work. That should work.
Yeah, I completely agree. And based on the notes that I have here,
Hmm.
I you said clear on the information the product
Hmm.
manager needs, and for me that equals also to a structure behind it.
Absolutely.
Like having a structure that you can even including the onboarding for someone new in the company from the beginning to have that
Mhm.
clear. And also, why not have quarters or every
Mhm.
6 months a meeting with the whole company, kind of
Mhm.
to understand, hey, this is how we're working. This is
Mhm.
we meet. We meet, we collect all the data, we then decide we're going to work on this, then we talk with each team leader, and then
Mhm.
we, like there are different filters that you as a customer success manager you don't know of. And sometimes it's also important to know because you can kind of give the right expectation to the customer,
Mhm.
to not promising things. So I think that also comes with a lot of structures.
Mhm.
Do you believe on this, or have you seen other philosophies or other ideas kicking in when
Um,
it comes to alignments?
Well, if I'm talking from the point of view of a startup or a scale up where,
Yeah,
teams are pretty small, I think that's pretty easy to do, but sometimes it's easier said than done. um, it's really important to kind of have brainstorming meetings with all the head of the departments, right? Sales, marketing, product management, customer success, financial. Why not? Because that's also important. UI, UX design, maybe whatever. Because having those kind of brainstorming meetings, it also allows you to be aware of what's going on in another department, how their work or problems influence your work or problems as a department, right? And this gives the whole company a chance to kind of work together on specific issues and have and offer at the same time transparency on what's going on for each person, for each department, for each head of department. I think that this internal alignment is the number one priority, or should be at least the number one priority for any business. Because if you, for example, from the customer success department, you provide an information to a customer, and that information was not previously agreed with the product management team or the development team or whatever it's called, then you risk to provide the customer with a bad experience because you haven't checked on that information's accuracy previously, right? So we don't want to risk that. And all it takes is just 30 minutes of talking to each other. Just talk to each other.
yeah,
That's all it takes in order to prevent bad experiences and churn at some point, and of course, revenue loss. So yeah, definitely talk to each other as much as you can, provide information on specific cases, ask questions, support each other, because practically you all have the same goal, right? All the departments have the same goal, having happy customers who will renew the contracts or who will have any upsell, cross sell opportunities. I think that's the main goal. So let's put our egos aside, right, and work towards the same goal. Because sometimes it's an ego problem. Sometimes.
yeah, that's true. And it's also so difficult. I mean, there are so many factors, right? And you touch on as well on the business side. And it's also on the other side, if you're working from home or if you're in the
Mhm.
office, if you have a small chat in the office about something, or if you have to Slack them, is completely different. So
Yes.
that transparency that you're talking about is so important to keep to keep this in our minds.
Yes.
Try to be transparent as much as possible.
Mhm.
I have had situations, and this happens as well because there's not a clear structure, especially if it's a startup where there's a lot going on.
Yes.
That I collect the customer feedback, or I collected the customer feedback. I go back to product, and product asks me so really, really good questions that I was like, why? Why are you asking so many good questions?
Yeah. I mean, from the product management perspective, as I said, you have to have your things really well put together and structured in order to be able to perform and also to be able to create and improve at the same time, because it has to be a balance between those two, right? You created the first phase of the product, and then you can go towards creating the second phase, but you also have to pay attention to what needs to be improved from the first phase. So you have to kind of balance those two sides of dealing with a product. And you cannot do that if you don't have a very good put together structure, if you're not organized, if you don't have a supportive team around you, because practically you need to inspire the other people from the team, the other team members, to have the same
Fire.
values, to have the same discipline, right? So it's about, I mean, it's about leadership as well, and having things really clear for yourself as a product manager, team leader, product manager, whatever. You need to have your things really, really cleared out for yourself first, in order to be able to inspire the other team members as well.
Wow, inspire. That's just a hard, really tough word to use. Like inspire
Yeah,
others. Yeah,
yeah,
inspire.
because practically, so I mean, if we find fulfillment in our jobs, or at least a percentage of fulfillment, right? Because we cannot be fulfilled only for by our jobs. That would be sad. But if we find that specific fulfillment in our roles and in our jobs, I think it's going to be really easy for us to inspire other people to do the same thing, because we are the living proof that it works. I'm doing what I love, and I'm really happy about that, and I think that it can be seen. And for people who are dreaming to do the same thing, if they see me, well, maybe they can get inspired to pursue their dreams, right, and to work on their dreams. And it's the same from the product management team, or for the customer success team perspective as well. Once you have all your things put together, once you are really aware of what you bring to the table as a product manager, as a customer success manager, as a department, as a business, everything will just fall into place.
And I'm a big believer, Delia, of we as customer success managers, we deal with stakeholders that
Hmm.
represent their company, right?
Hmm.
We only have a view. We don't
Hmm.
have more than that view.
Yeah.
We have to do our strategic questions and all of the good stuff and interesting stuff about it. But
Hmm.
the real customer success manager that will reach those end users is indeed the product, right? So like you said before, when you were a couple of minutes ago, you
Hmm.
said that we are all aiming for the same goals, and that's something that inspiration comes into place because okay, if we work internally, you
Hmm.
understand how I work, I understand how you work, I come and there's a structure. But it's also important to keep in mind that sometimes we do have to pressure. I'm
Yes.
seeing it as a customer success manager side. Like, yeah, okay, we all of this is amazing if there's, but sometimes, hey guys, like we need this bug or we need this feature ready, and we can cry as much as possible. Maybe we're influencers, not the decision makers as customer success. But I think that if you use the word if you use the word risk or risk of churn, if it's actually going to happen, if it's really going to happen, I think that's powerful. What do you think on the on the product manager side?
um well, I think that I mean, it does sound accurate, right?
Yeah,
Because
the pressuring.
um, it sounds accurate because sometimes, from the customer success perspective, you have to kind of be customer oriented, but at the same time, be aware of the fact that another goal of your company is to kind of be scalable.
Yeah.
So you have to balance the customer needs and requests with the scalability of your own business. And this is exactly where the product management team comes.
Are you ready for the fight? I can see your hands.
Exactly. It's gonna be like a back and forth on the whole customer request situation, because we feel that if we don't agree with the customer, we are going to lose them. And the product team says, okay, I cannot do that right now because we don't have the resources, we don't have the budget, we have other priorities, and so on and so forth. And that's exactly when one of those two departments needs to step a bit back to be able to look at the full picture, not just their own side of the picture. And
Oh,
I'm saying that because, for example, it happened to me so many times from the customer success perspective, to kind of be very insistent and persistent with a specific request of a customer, and realizing at some point that things were not that urgent or mandatory as the customer thought they were. And that's exactly when I started asking questions in order for me to understand if that specific request was a nice to have or must have. Always keeping in mind that we need to consider even if that specific risk of churn is something that we can assume and we can afford, right? Because sometimes, right, churn is needed. If you have a customer who's not an ideal customer profile based customer, and they are asking for so many requests and so many new features and stuff that you risk to kind of personalize the whole product instead of scaling your business, then you have to ask yourself from the business perspective, do I really need this customer? Do I really need to put in all this effort to keep this customer if it's not an ideal customer? And sometimes this is going to be this is a very unpopular opinion, but sometimes risk of churn and churn is a it's an advantage, because you have to put in so much effort to keep that customer, so many resources, so many time, so much time, so many people working on the same thing. And you have to ask yourself at some point, is it really worth it? What's the customer lifetime value? What are the opportunities of upsell, cross-sell for for that customer? What am I losing here? I'm losing people because employees are starting to leave because they're frustrated. What are the risks? What are the benefits? What's the worst case scenario? What's the best scenario? So from the customer success perspective, sometimes you have to kind of take a step back, be the bigger person in the room, right?
Yeah.
And see things from the product management perspective as well from time to time, right? And the other way around as well, because it's about compromise. It's like in any relationship, you have to compromise and get to a middle point, right? To a halfway, meet me
An
halfway,
agreement.
right? Yeah.
Just give me a couple of seconds. I need to process all of this
Yeah,
information.
sure.
That it's
Absolutely.
it's incredible because it's so true that we are not. Customer is the center. Is not. Let's see. Customer doesn't have to be the center of the universe, because, and this is maybe unpopular opinion as well. What I'm
Yes.
going to say. Same when you say sharing is needed. My first reaction was like, wait, what? My automatically I just reacted like, why are you saying that? Yeah, don't say that. Let me edit this. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just that business works as well, not only because of one customer,
Mm-hmm.
it works because of several many customers.
Yes.
And we as customer success managers, basically what I hear from you is like, yeah, we need to take care of the customer, but we also need to understand our business goals, which
Yes.
includes other teams.
Exactly.
And it's worth it to do all of this effort into bringing this customer feedback and having those struggles with our or challenges with our other teams because of a customer. Yes, go for it. But it's like step back and breathe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing. And if one day you create your company, I would like to work with you, Delia. Is that fine?
I'm so happy. Thank you so much. I'm honored. Yeah.
There's something else I really want to touch on with you today. I want to cover
Sure.
this topic. But before we go into that, you touch on churn. And churn, yeah, might not be needed, might be needed. But if we focus on not being needed, we can also focus on the experience side. And that's where Flola comes into play. With Flola, you reduce churn with a better customer onboarding experience. How? You can update customers in real time with a portal that shows progress. So they are always informed. You can educate customers on the task they own and the key dependencies. You can collect data and document inside your portal. I mean, what else do you need? You're giving them the keys to what
Exactly.
to their success. Amazing, Flora. So go into the description, go and check the discount, and enjoy everyone. Delia,
Yeah.
what I wanna touch to you with you, it's about saying no. And I
Mm-hmm.
think product managers, they are masters at saying no. I don't care what people are gonna think about me. I have these priorities. like it or not.
Mhm.
So, and that's just me from the outside. I want to hear your real opinion on this, but I think
Um,
that there are things that we can learn about product managers, and one is saying no because we are so people pleasers.
yeah.
What do you think about that? Is there any strategy that you maybe came up with one day?
Mhm. Yeah. So I was a strong believer of the fact that if you say no to a customer, a relationship might end and there might be tension and conflict. Until I realized that this is not necessarily true, because saying no to the customers is needed, is a must, and it's also very healthy. If you say no to a specific customer, at some point they will start trusting you even more, depending on the context.
Oh, you're touching a little bit on the psychology side. Also, when it comes to negotiation, like negotiation, looking for the no is also like a yes.
Yeah, I mean, there are several ways of saying no to a specific customer or to all the customers. It's just that you have to be mindful of the way you say no and the whole context. The idea behind saying no or saying a productive no is to be mindful of the context and to leave a door open for conversation. So you won't just say no and that's it. Because everybody needs, and even in our personal lives, we all need to be involved. We all need to know. We all need not to be left in the blind, right? So just involve me in your process and give me something, some piece of information, some detail, some why, some reasoning, some anything. Just give me something, right? And I think this is exactly what we need to consider. And I created a saying no success framework based on my experience, because I realized that if we learn how to say no, we can have a lot of benefits from the customer relationship perspective, but also from the scalability of the business perspective. So one of the one of the ways we can say no and have it productive is to say no, like not now, right? I cannot fulfill your request right now, but we will add it to our list and we'll keep you informed. I will not be able to fulfill your request now because we have other priorities, we have other urgencies, and we this is not necessarily something that affects your business in a negative way at the moment. So this is more of a nice to have, right? So the idea is to give context. I cannot do this now, but I will be able to do it at some point. Maybe I will keep you informed because, and the reason, right? Um, Another way is to say no, not in this way. So I cannot release a new feature of writing with red because we now can write in black, so that's okay for the moment. I cannot do it this way. I can do it the other way, and this is why, right? So always give an explanation, always give not necessarily a workaround, but at least an idea of a workaround, right? There's still something there for you too, Mr. Customer. Even if I cannot do it right now the way you want me to, I can find a different way that will suit your needs, at least partially, and my needs as a business partially as well, because this has always to be a win win situation, right?
This is crazy. You're given the keys to successfully saying no. This is the thing. The way that you're phrasing this is not only the way you're phrasing it, it's the order that
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it with the words that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I recently had we talked with Dr. Christopher Phelps from the Dr. Robert Cialdini's Institute, talking about the persuasion side, and
Mm-hmm.
he touched on the same that you're saying, the importance of but and
Oh,
the
cool.
because. So that's when he caught my
Oh, wow.
attention
Okay.
into wow, okay, chill down, Delia. You are also persuading your customers. You're using that order in the sense, and then this is practice as well. Um, Sometimes it's just we are not that conscious. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we might be conscious. If it's on a real time conversation. It must
Mhm.
be there's so many factors and complicated to say no versus email, right?
Yes.
But what I was gonna say is that yeah, what you're saying there is that you're persuading them into this is not gonna happen
Hmm.
because so you're setting up the expectations,
Yes.
but I'm still here to help, and if
Mhm.
needed, we can add some value. This is what we these are the milestones that we have reached already. So why
Exactly.
would this be a deal breaker?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, as you also mentioned at some point previously, it's all about communication. It's all about how you approach every single situation that you have with a customer, no matter how difficult the customer is, no matter how difficult the situation is. It doesn't matter. If you're empathetic, if you are clear on the message that you are transmitting to your customer, if you get them involved into your decision making process, right? Because you let them know the reasoning behind the no or behind the yes. They really want to know, they really want to belong, they really want to not be left in the dark, right? So once you do that, I mean, it can only be successful.
It can only be successful. How can people find your framework? How can they learn more from you? Besides, because I'm pretty sure they're going to pause, they're going to go back. I know they're going to do that, but where can they find this information?
Well, it's mostly on LinkedIn. You can find me by Delia Visan. And I also have my website, doyouspeakcustomersuccess.com. There's a lot of information there. I'm currently working on a resource page with every single podcast episode I've been invited to, every single testimonial or every single article I wrote. With my two ebooks, because I wrote two ebooks. One is for the people who want to become customer success managers, and the other one is for CEOs of startups, because they are one of the people who really need support on the customer success or customer support or customer relationship management side, because they are practically the ones who have to sometimes be the mediators between the product management team and the customer success team, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, every single resource can be found on LinkedIn first, and then on doyouSpeakCustomerSuccess.com. And of course, if anyone wants to reach out, I can provide my email address here, right?
Absolutely. If
Okay.
you're not aware of that, yeah,
Oh no, absolutely no, I'm not. So if anybody wants to reach out, my email address is hello@deliavisan.com. So feel free to reach out. Maybe we can exchange opinions, talk about customer success. Maybe I can be of help with any advice or support or consultancy or coaching. Reach out. Yep.
people, I know you are all taking notes. I know you have your note and your pen next to you, and you're trying to take all the notes and all that Delia is saying. But don't worry, all of this information will also be in the description of today's episode, same as the website to Flora. But Delia, when we have 40 minutes already recording, and if I have to use a word for you, it's inspiring. Well, that's the word that I'm going to use for you today, because all of these resources that you're given and the way of you all wanted to help other people is inspiring, where we can also, or I can see you as a role model going into creating this framework into how to say no to a customer, and the way that you're organizing these ideas and giving this out. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up today's episode, Delia, I want to ask you one more question, if that's fine with you.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
And the question is, how have you fucked up before, and what have you learned from it?
Oh, that's a good question, and I'm laughing now, but I didn't laugh at that point.
I'm pretty sure.
So my champion, one of my customers champion left the customer business, and I really needed some information on how the collaboration was going with us from their perspective. So I was reaching out by phone, by email, and nothing happened. They didn't reply back, and I didn't exactly know that they left the company, so they kind of vanished. So I tried to reach out again, and I sent an email on their business email address, right? The one that we were always communicating on, asking some information about the person who had taken their place, because I've seen on LinkedIn that there was someone else coming to occupy
So
their
far sounds
place.
logical. So far sounds logical.
Yeah, except that I asked some for some information on the collaboration, from the collaboration perspective, and that specific person who was taking their place, like if that person is happy with the collaboration, if they're okay, and so on and so forth. So kind of some inside information. And what happened was that I received a reply, an automatic reply, saying that all the emails sent to that email address were going to be redirected to the new person's email address.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that was so embarrassing. I mean, the questions that I asked were decent, were valid. There was nothing inappropriate asked there, but it still was an embarrassing situation, right? Because I was trying to get a hold of that person and trying to understand how the collaboration was working, because I needed to do a forecast on the churn and retention and blah blah. So yeah, that was one of the fuck ups that I'm not proud of, but the lesson I learned is that you just need sometimes to be patient, and sometimes you just need to let things unfold, because afterwards the new person approached me and they reached out and we continued the collaboration and everything was okay.
What?
We even, yeah, I mean, we even laugh about
Okay, that's
that
good.
situation now, so that's good. But at that moment, I was really thinking that I might have caused the churn at that point. Um,
Oh.
yeah, so it was really embarrassing and it was really frustrating for me. But yeah, I mean, just be patient. That's the lessons I learned. The lesson I learned. Just be patient, and because sometimes things just unfold in their own way. Stop trying to control everything, Delia. This is a reminder for myself. And I think that most of the customer success people also have a specific tendency to try to control the context, the environment, in order to be able to correctly forecast the churn or customer retention rate and everything. So yeah, everything ended happily and well. But at that moment, yeah, well, things were pretty cloudy for me. Yeah.
Well, I think that that's a mistake that we can easily make as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I think I'm now jumping into my empathic side as a customer success manager because we are doing so many things that is so easy for us to just have control, like you said, right? So those details make a big difference. Even like you even like creating an email and then you focus so much on the email that you forgot the fucking title, right? But it makes a difference, and same that what happened to you. So I hope everyone learning, listening today, have learned from what you have, the mistake that you made. It could literally happen, but there's no more information that we can and insight that we can extract from you. It has been an amazing episode. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
and it's time to close today's episode. Everyone, I just want to remind you really, really quick about Flola and all the benefits, because with Flola, it helps automate and simplify complex onboarding and implementation processes. Share resources and project plans in a personalized link, collect data and documents without the back and forth, and auto populate your CRM. I like that part, like auto populate your CRM. So accelerate revenue recognition, improve client engagement, which is all of this is about customer experience, and make a great first impression. And like I always tell you, everyone, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success.